Team USA's U19 training camp is underway. We broke down the roster invites for this a couple weeks ago. They invited 33 players under 19 years old to compete to go play in the FIBA U19 World Cup that begins in 12 days in Switzerland. It's a mix of rising college sophomores, incoming college freshmen, and then even some high school players. And there's a lot of guys we care about. AJ DeBonsa's there. Morez Johnson and LJ Kaysen there from Michigan. Daniel Jacobson back for Purdue there. Michael Brown at Louisville. We've got Malachi Moreno at Kentucky. There's a ton of recruits we care about as well. Go look up the rosters, whatever. But we finally have reports of how this training camp is going. We have people in the gym reporting on what's going on. And Gavoni predicted a roster. We're going to do a separate video on the channel going through Gavoni's roster cuts and maybe making some tweaks to it. But I can share that what people are saying from being in the gym, AJ DeBance has been the best player in the gym. That shouldn't surprise any of us. The likely number one pick in next year's draft is just destroying everybody, destroying LJ Kaysen a lot from the video clips that I've seen. But anyways, I digress. That's not the news, Cart. The news is that the second name behind AJ DeBonsa from basically anyone in attendance, and you can find this from Jamie Shaw's write-up on On3. You can find this from Gavoni's write-ups. He was in attendance. You can find this from Kristen Peek's write-up. She was in attendance. Merez Johnson has arguably been the second best player in the gym. In fact, On3's update this morning, I'm just going to read a little excerpt from it. Shout out to Jamie and shout out to On3. Merez Johnson is a ferocious presence in and around the paint. He was the most physical of the group, initiating contact, making plays around the basket. His offensive toolkit looked expanded. Not only did he make his free throws, but he was able to get the ball on the block and get to his left shoulder. In this session, Johnson was the most impressive five. His defensive presence, his ability to slide and switch, and he rebounded consistently, out-rebounding the rest of the bigs. Johnson loudly made his case this session. In a response to that, how will the center spot shape out? Is it a question that Jamie posed himself? Daniel Jacobson from Purdue was there. Chris Sinak, Malachi Moreno also there, both five-star freshmen. And then Royce Parham, Marquette's sophomore, was kind of the odd man out. Per Jamie's write-up here, it says Johnson was the most dominant player at the position. Sinak and Moreno also showed flashes. Sinak has athletic fluidity. Moreno is big and he plays big. Daniel Jacobson had an up and down session. He showed true size in the front of the rim presence. But it sounds like part of Merez's dominance from people in attendance was coming at the expense of Daniel Jacobson. I mean, there were people that watched this in chat rooms just saying like, yeah, Johnson just put Jacobson in a blender. We don't know what the cuts are going to be. We'll have videos on the channel later this week once they do make cuts. But from everyone in attendance, it sounds like Merez Johnson is outplaying the rest of the bigs. It's the first big data point that has me real excited. What are your thoughts on these developments?
Yeah, I think that, it's not surprising to hear that Merez is physically dominating, right? Because that's what at least his MO is, right? And there's a world where he can do more and he thinks he can show more, right? But when it comes to a physicality standpoint, there's not many more physical than Merez is, and that's and how he finishes and attacks the rim and tries to dunk everything. He is an amazing rebounder. And in settings where he is playing players that might be taller than him or bigger than him, he realizes himself that his physicality is something that can separate him from these other prospects. And it sounds like he's doing that in this setting. And, I'm not surprised that he was the most dominant player at the center position, given some of the other fives that were here, right? Because Jacobson, what? You want to jump in?
Bullshit.
What?
You're not surprised that Merez Johnson dominated Chris Sinak.
Physically? No.
After all the times I've heard you talk about Chris Sinak, you are not surprised that in
Well,
a basketball setting, Merez Johnson looked better than Chris Sinak.
that he was physically the most dominant player? No.
It wasn't just that he was physically dominant, it's that he was the best big in attendance.
I am surprised he's the best big in attendance. But was it that he's the best big or the most
I'll go
dominant?
back and read it just to make sure. But yeah, I mean, it was, I think the physically dominant part was how he did it. The best big in attendance was like the news.
Well, yeah.
Johnson was the most dominant player at the position this session. Looking at the fives, I would say Johnson was at the top, followed by Sanak, Moreno, Jacobson, Parham in that order.
Yeah, I'm probably surprised by that. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like I'm also doing this in the UM hoops thing right now, where like I don't know, people are sending this, I'm sending this, and like Dylan is kind of like, yeah, I mean that's not a surprise, right? That he's better than Chris Sanak? Yeah, that's a surprise. Chris Sanak's a lottery pick. Like in any basketball setting, if you're telling me Morez Johnson is outplaying him, yes, I am surprised. And I would think you are too. And I think it's okay to say that, right? Now I'm also high on Merez, so I'm not like stunned by it. But a year ago, last summer, Daniel Jacobson was starting over him on this team with the same coaching staff.
Hmm.
So and I understand Daniel Jacobson has an injury, but if whatever off seasons or seasons development has happened, where you've gone from last year where DJ was the starter, Merez was the backup, to this year where you add Chris Sanak lottery pick into the mix, and now there's a gap 3 players wide between Merez and Daniel Jacobson. Yeah, I did not expect that coming in. I did not expect coming into this week with 33 players on the World Cup roster, even as a Merez guy, that the story coming out of it would be AJ DeBanza was the best player here. Then Morez Johnson. Like there are so many good players here. Michael Brown's here. Like, and that's what we're hearing, which is crazy and exciting and tantalizing. And I'm already getting nervous about it, quite frankly, because Merez, if he's actually that good this year, my life's going to be hell while also being awesome. I'm so afraid of Illinois fans if this happens. This video is brought to you by NBA 2KLab.com. 2K Lab worked with us last summer as well. They're one of our favorite entities in all of sports gaming. We want to show you their college basketball stadium locator challenge game. And I'm going to share a screen right now as we do this. South Carolina, bang. Oh,
Ooh,
okay, that's pretty good. Next, North Carolina. Why are we only getting the Carolinas?
please
Bang.
lock in.
St. John's, that's New
New
York.
York.
Bang.
Where's New Jersey?
We're on fire. Colorado. I actually don't know what state Colorado is.
It's in Colorado. There's a state of
Is that
Colorado.
this one?
It's to the right of Phoenix.
Anyway, you get the picture. This game's really fun. They've got more games as well, like Guess the NBA Player, Mystery Fantasy Draft, and more. Stay tuned for all of the college football content and games that they'll be putting together to help you get the best experience out of college football 26. Back to the video.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the fact that he was the most impressive five out of that group is extremely impressive to me. Because you know I'm a Snack guy. The only point I was making is like I'm not surprised that I mean one of the headlines was his physicality was not matched. That part doesn't surprise me. Merez is
Sure.
probably the most physical, like that's what he is, right? I think the point that would even get you more excited, or Michigan fans more excited, is that there's more that goes with that physicality. It's like it's not just that he's that physically dominant, it's also that like he can, you know, he can do other things, right? You don't want the physicality to like cover up for the fact that he's not a good basketball player.
Yeah, sure. He's not doing it in a Kofi Coburn like way, right?
Yeah. Also, do we have any comment on Jacobson being fourth on this?
Maybe just the injury. I'm
Okay.
willing to give him a little. So, okay, if we accept the premise that Merez like looks awesome, and it's him and Sanak as the best two, which is what Jamie Shaw has shared. The only part that surprises me beyond that is Malachi Moreno being ahead of Daniel Jacobson. And I will say, I don't think that bodes very well because every time we have seen Malachi Moreno in these serious game like settings, he's looked pretty underwhelming or just not ready, right? He's kind of like a prospect. I don't think Kentucky fans are expecting Malachi Moreno to play serious minutes this year.
Hmm.
So, like, Purdue fans are expecting Daniel Jacobson to play serious minutes this year. And if Malachi's looking better than him this summer, that would have me questioning where DJ's at in his recovery. Now, I have no questions on Daniel Jacobson, the prospect, but just point blank, he was starting on this team last year, presumably better than Merez as an impact guy. To drop to fourth behind Malachi Moreno, a guy that I think is not ready for college basketball, is alarming to say the least. And look, you can't find like full game footage or anything like that of these camps, but you can find a lot of clips from like Gavoni and people that have been in attendance. People are just chopping up every single AJ DeBanza highlight right now. A lot of these, like we talked about, LJ Kaysen is part of the defensive problem. He's been getting torched by DeBanza. A lot of the clips I've seen have included Daniel Jacobson being really slow to weak side help.
Hmm.
And I don't know what to do with that because he's supposed to be like the best shot blocker in the country right now already. And like he's not impacting things on that end right now from what I've
Yeah,
seen in clips.
and that's not good either because in my head, being because I think even Jamie pointed this out. One of the more impressive parts of Morez was that he was in the right spot, right? And being in the right spot and having the length that he has can go a long way on the defensive side of the ball. Being in the wrong spot, being a step slow, and being in a spot, it's being 7'4" is one thing, but like if typically being a step later, being in the wrong spot leads to breakdowns, foul trouble inherently usually comes with that as well. But like that's also a thing where like he hasn't played a competitive game in Lord knows how long, and coming off the injury, that is one thing that you could be a step slow. And also like this is not the setting to get your feet wet. I guess like
Right.
there's a lot of dogs in this gym. This isn't like rehab assignment here. You're not going up again. Like, this is like the real deal.
Yeah,
So
honestly, given that, like obviously it's great he's here, and I'm sure like the staff, like Tommy Lloyd and Mark Pope, wanted him back because he was their best big last year for this. But given that last point you just made, I'm kind of surprised he's there. And I'm starting to wonder, like, maybe it would be best for Daniel Jacobson and Purdue if he actually went back to campus instead of going to Guatemala or wherever these games are. What is it, Switzerland next week?
Switzerland, I
Right?
think. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Like maybe if he's not looking 100% to the eye, I would go back rather than keep testing this. Now maybe he is, and maybe he's had a bad week. I will say it's a really small sample size. I would not be surprised at all if Merez Johnson looked like the second best player in the gym for 2 days, and he's going to come back tomorrow, and Chris Sinak's going to put him on a poster, or Daniel Jacobson starts hitting shots from outside and looks super dynamic. It's a small sample size. Players have good days and bad days. I am so eagerly excited that Merez looks good. And the most intriguing part of this is what you said, the expanded offensive skill set. If that's something that's coming out right away, because again, this was a rather large bet that Merez and his dad made. And
Mhm.
you can point fingers and you could criticize the way they did it, the way they left in controversial fashion. You could criticize the destination of choice that he chose, right? You could say, well, he chose a similar role that he had at Illinois at Michigan. Now you're sandwiched in between Yaxel and Morrow. What's even going to happen? You're not even going to be used the way. Like I'm open to all those criticisms. What I'm not open to is this. Merez bet on himself. That was the bet he made this offseason. He looked at Illinois, had the conversation with them, and said, "Oh, you guys care more about Tom Ivisic than me? I'm out." And who knows? Maybe he'll go through a similar experience in Michigan. But it was a bet on, listen, I am a dog and I'm a great basketball player and I'm going to be a star somewhere. And we'll see if he's right. The early returns from this offseason, if he's better than Chris Sinak right now, have me so excited. Because if that's what Michigan's getting, if they're getting a Chris Sinak level player next to Yaxel Lendeborg, like Cart.
Yeah, it's like that. Like that's it's gonna be insane for Michigan basketball, and inherently Illinois basketball and Illinois fans are gonna have to answer for some things if like you let that guy who's from your state was Mr. Basketball in your state basically leave for who has been your rival in the past couple years. So like, it's tough.
Not a rival because they own us. If we win
Okay.
a game, then we can call it a rivalry. But they own me. I wish Brad Underwood a happy Father's Day yesterday.
As you should.
Can I give you my nightmare timeline, though? I told you this before we clicked record.
Please.
So this is the nightmare timeline. Merez was right. He's everything they said he could do. He goes to Michigan. He's better than Yaxel.
Oh.
I'm not even, listen, hear me out. I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen. This is my nightmare timeline. Merez is a legitimate superstar who's like passing and doing all these things they said he could do that Illinois said he couldn't. He has a great year. He's a first team All Big Ten player, stud. He leaves Michigan next offseason after that because he's pissed with Michigan too.
Oh, so he's like, yeah, like I can go get Yaxel money.
Or not even Yaxel money, just like, hey, I still didn't like how I was used. I'm annoyed that Yaxel was here. If
Oh.
Yaxel wasn't here, I would have been the national player of the year. Not that like I don't know if you can ever keep Merez happy is the point, right?
That is a nightmare timeline.
So that's the timeline where everybody loses. He leaves Illinois for Michigan. He is right and he's awesome at Michigan, and then he leaves me before I even get to experience it.
Well, I win in that scenario.
You would be very happy in that scenario,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
get him out of here.
Yeah.